Mm.
Yeah. And also the maps, the mini map, completely blacked out until you actually walked around in that area and destroyed the fog of war.
Wow.
Yeah. So you had to learn the
That.
map, and can you imagine Terran scanning?
Oh.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Oh, being able to get all that. Oh, distance. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that just sounds. Now I can see why a lot of people, were, really relieved with StarCraft 2 with a lot of the changes that they made.
But the thing is, a lot of people are relieved, but then there are people that are disappointed. The
Right.
people that are just like, this has taken away the aspect of true skill that is really required to control a massive army with so few resources besides your hands. Because in StarCraft 2, you have a max switch army. You can literally, theoretically, just go 1A, left click, and every single unit streams across the map, and they're all tight together, they're moving together, they can go in within a couple seconds, they have their concave as they envelop over what they're attacking. While Brood War, it's 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, select, grab, F2, F2, A, left click, select, A, left click, move around, okay, now it's time to do spells.
And now something completely different. So,
Yeah. Oh. Actually, that was another thing. There was no smart casting in Brood War. So if you had 6 High Templar selected and you need to spread your storms, if you select them all and you press Storm click, all 6 storms, one spot, and they don't stack, and they
oh,
do not stack.
that is painful.
And then all of a sudden, you're just like, oh God, I didn't select only one Templar. I now lose because I need that DPS in order to deal with the imbalanced siege tank splash.
Oh my god, that would hurt so hard.
Oh yeah. And I mean, if you want to see, there's some of the you need to try and play this and do this, and then you need to look up the video, the most size storm ever, or Jang B's ridiculous size storms, where you hear fangirls screaming their heads off because of the amount of size storm that gets cast in perfect spots all over a Terran army.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And that's why I just can't help but have just more respect for those really top pros in Brood War, because you can have those Bonjois. You've got Jaedong, Flash, Savior, and those guys that have managed to stay on top of Brood War for their incredibly long periods of time. But look at StarCraft 2. You have 2 or 3 repeat GSL winners. So I don't think anybody's repeated an MLG victory or something like that. It's almost there's that added luck factor because of all the ease and mechanics for StarCraft 2 that just does not exist in Brood War. Just the comparisons. I could tell this forever, as you can probably realize right now.
That's good. That's good. That's a very good knowledge base to have, so that way you kind of know where everything's developed from. So you know a little bit more about the transitions for balance and things like that. Where I just kind of have to go by what's happening now plus the patches. So I don't have backstory for where a lot of the players' skills really come from. I'm like, oh yeah, they do really good at moving this around, or doing that kind of a thing. But having that kind of history to the whole thing really adds a lot to the way that you can present information, and I could definitely respect that, because that's something that really offers a lot more to the community and to viewers and things like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I know pales in comparison to a lot of people. I started watching and being interested in StarCraft probably early 2009, and this is what I've gotten out of that. Just those people that have been, say, in similar shoes to Day 9, where he has been playing since release and doing all that stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I played at release, but that was just the campaign. That was me and my brother messing around being like, huh, I bet you we can win if we go power overwhelming, which is the cheat that means I can't die. And then I go through the campaign like that.
I'll just do this and blaze
Yeah,
right on
exactly.
through.
But I mean, I think everybody who plays StarCraft 2 should play at least a few games of Brood War and try and get past that initial frustration of, oh my god, I can't do anything anymore. And then try and go through the process of figuring out how to actually legitimately place your buildings, how to actually do a forge fast expand so the guy can't just run through your cannons with a dozen lings. How to actually be able to set up your siege tanks so that two storms, two reaver scarabs, and then your tanks just don't die. How to actually set up a defensive position at a ramp and watch as a horde of units try and go ahead and break your ramp, break that all important base, and you lose almost nothing because of that great position and the tanks that are there. How to actually be able to mass a ton of lings, and then the difficulty to keep your gigantic 200 unit Zerg army cohesive and moving into that all important base to take it out. How to actually be able to macro, keep that money low, not get supply blocked, and realize the fact that all of a sudden you have to manage everything with the minimal actually tools that you can actually do to use it, to make those things actually work together. How to control
Hmm.
how to control your bases, how to be able to legitimately send your workers every 17 seconds or whatever the time is in Brood War time to get them mining constantly. So you don't go back to your base like, oh god, I have 6 SCVs, I have 6 drones, I have 12 probes just sitting there, just waiting to mine, and they're just being idle because you no longer have that nice little square in the bottom left above your minimap in StarCraft 2 that says you have 7 idle workers. There's just the level of appreciation is sadly not there for a lot of people that play StarCraft 2. I'm not singling you out. This is partly because I'm thinking I have an intention of uploading this to YouTube and just saying rant about StarCraft 2 and StarCraft Brood War and how everyone should actually try and get an appreciation of it. You're kind of just being the guinea pig for this.
I love being the guinea pig for a lot of things, but yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Yeah, because I've been I've wanted to play Brood War, but I haven't wanted to play Brood War because I'm a big lore junkie for a lot of things. So for me to play Brood War, I'd be really happy about it. But then I don't want my inability to play the game to just ruin StarCraft 2 for me. Because I'll get all angry and get all old man on it. Well, I don't know how to send the email. I'm just not gonna go ahead and use this stupid computer thing. Give me my stamps. So
Wait, the thing is though, it'll help your StarCraft 2 a ton,
you think so?
without a doubt. Okay, here if you want to know that here's complete absolute proof. I was just getting to competitive Brood War when I got in StarCraft 2 beta. I was practicing around playing with friends. I was going a little bit on iCup. I actually had a semi decent win percentage considering I played about 10 games on it. But I was probably around D plus skill level. I go to StarCraft 2. This is back when it was copper, then bronze, silver, gold, and platinum at the top. I got immediately placed into silver, knowing almost nothing because of that basic Brood War mechanics, and that was just being D plus in iCup, which is like three or four from the lowest ranks you possibly get. You start out at D, and I got to D plus maybe. And then within a week of being silver in StarCraft 2, I was up at platinum in the beta, and it was just like all of a sudden I can still move around. I know the fundamentals of spending your money, not getting supply blocked, expanding, and getting more units, and all of a sudden I'm at the top of the beta. And
Wow,
ever since the release of StarCraft 2, I've been Master since Season 1, with a D plus background in Brood War.
that's pretty awesome.
It's it will help you exponentially because you have to keep track of so much more that when you get to StarCraft 2, all of a sudden it just seems slower. It just seems slower, crisper, faster, more fluid. You're just like, okay, just boom, 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 boom. And then you're just like, wait a second, I have no money. I'm 12 minutes into the game. I'm approaching max. Wait a second, this is so much simpler than it seemed before. Before it was, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed. Now it's, I can easily do this. not to mention we tried to micro in StarCraft Brood War as opposed to StarCraft 2, it'll be great. One of the reasons why I started playing Warcraft 3 again today was my micro, my my micro and control in my large scale battles, my just speed and determining this needs to go there, here, and here is a little off. And I figured I'm gonna play some Warcraft 3. Why not? I like the game. I know almost nothing about it competitively, but I know the basics of spend your money, go for these initial 3 buildings first, macro up, get a ton of upgrades ASAP. You might as well go for that. I'm Protoss. I get lots of upgrades. I'll continue that Warcraft 3 and control my units, spells, spellcasters, keep track of where everyone gets to go where, and all of a sudden, I have Warcraft 3 for micro practice, theoretically StarCraft 1 for macro practice, but I'm fine with StarCraft 2 for macro practice too, because that's how I play.
Right. Yeah, your macro was amazing. Those 2 games that we played. Well, technically 3 games. With the yeah, you really like you just kept moving with the macro, and you always and that's one thing that I've been trying to do is every time I expand, I start setting up my production facilities to try to keep up with that amount of money that's going to be incoming here, and that because that's one thing that I still do really poorly is the forward planning for everything because I'll wind up with 4,000 4,000 minerals or whatever, and I just don't have the production facilities to warrant all that. So I need you did such a great job. You were always expanding out your production facilities and expanding on top of that, and that way you always had enough stuff to spend that new money on. So that is definitely very impressive, and your macro style of play is amazing.
Thank you. But to reference that same game you're talking about, well, did you see my control with those against the Thors? Those initial couple pushes, it was like I moved out and I wasn't paying attention while I was macroing, and then all of a sudden look back and all my zealots are dead at the outside. It was natural. That's the kind of stuff I need to fix.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that then if I was able to actually macro as well as you're saying and then add in the micro on top of that, I would be so much higher ranked. I'd actually be able to go forward. I just need time to practice and get that down. But one of the things that I have to do, since I have to use other tools besides just playing in order to get better faster, which is why I'm also going through a little bit of Warcraft 3, because I can utilize the time outside of being able to play more efficiently in that respect, because Warcraft 3 is constantly micro. It's 20-minute games, 30-minute games of microwing for 15 minutes straight, as opposed
Right.
to StarCraft 2 where it's macro, 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 30-second battle, macro, deal with a drop, macro, push out, attack, okay, then go back to macro. There's all those brief periods where it's just macro, which is why if I can... Okay, I'll be at a college schedule coming up in a couple weeks again. Vacation, I have no excuse not to actually spend the time on. But college, I have to worry about homework, girlfriend, friends, being able to sleep enough so I don't just collapse in the middle of the day, which is entirely possible because I'm an insomniac. So I have to realize these things, get all my homework done in the midst of all of this, and I don't have that much time to sit down on my computer and actually play, which means in between classes at the library for an hour, if I have an awkward break time or something, I can just look up a little bit of strategy in StarCraft 2, a little bit of strategy in Warcraft 3, and then split up my time, consolidating my macro and playing StarCraft 2, and then just being like, okay, I'm too tired now to play real ladder games. I move on to Warcraft 3, micro, get that practice down. Since it's my number 2 game at the moment, it's fine if I'm not perfect. And I can just focus on consolidating both macro, micro, and combining them into my next session of StarCraft 2 and practicing it better that way. I don't know. It's something that I think makes a lot of sense for me personally, because that way I'm not getting burnt out with StarCraft as well, because that's a very legitimate worry, considering that the vast majority of my free leisure time, when I'm pressed for time, is spent with StarCraft.
Right. Yeah, and that's always good because once you start getting burnt out on it, you're not learning anything anymore. Now you're kind of capped out, and the interest is gone, so you're not going to remember what you're doing, and you're just not going to be happy with what you're doing.
Hmm. Yep. So I have all of these little interesting things that I talk about.